How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 3.
Greetings, America. It's Eric Erickson here across the United States. Happy to have you with me today. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I would be very, very happy to have you. There's a lot of talk these days about a post-liberal consensus, and I got to tell you just how 30 feet over a runway it is. Liberalism means two different things. One, liberalism means the politics of the left, now called progressivism, people who are on the left. Liberalism also means freedom in the Western world. Those things are not synonymous. In fact, classical liberalism is modern conservatism. Free markets, free people is considered classical liberalism. There are a group of people on the right who use the phrase post-liberalism, and essentially they think that the Western world has gotten too licentious. The advancement of gay rights. That woman the other day who did the MMIWG2SLGBTQIAATPQ plus whatever it is, assembling those letters in my head, I think I got them right. The murdered, missing indigenous women and girls, two-spirit, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, intersex, allies, androgynous. You throw the letters together, the alphabet gang. And the post-liberal consensus thinks they've gone too far. The West has become secular and anti-religious, and they want to rein it all in. And many of them have hitched their wagon to Viktor Orban of Hungary. The president of the United States and J.D. Vance, big fans of Viktor Orban. In fact, J.D. Vance went to Hungary last week to try to prop up Viktor Orban and show ties between him and the United States. So J.D. Vance he went to see Pope Francis, who died right after that. He went to negotiate peace with Iran, which died right after that. He went to Hungary to prop up the campaign of Viktor Orban, which died right after that. There are a lot of friends of mine who want J.D. Vance to buy season tickets to the Dodgers and Alabama football. The memes write themselves. Now, I don't understand why the vice president felt the need to risk political capital to go prop up Viktor Orban in Hungary when polls had him as a sure loss. The fact of the matter is Viktor Orban did something that Donald Trump did not do, graciously conceded defeat instead of claiming that it was stolen. It was actually something that a lot of people didn't think Viktor Orban would do. The speech came early in the evening after his loss in Budapest. He congratulated his opponent, Peter Magyar, used to be, by the way, an Orban loyalist and then became leader of the main opposition party. And Orban said the responsibility and opportunity to govern were not given to us. We are not giving up. Never, never, never. And he left power, conceded power. A lot of people remember this is very much the way it's going to play out with Donald Trump here. You know, all the people in the left who in the media who are intellectually convinced that Donald Trump is never going to give up power. He's going to give up power. Donald Trump is not going to run for re-election. And in 2028, win or lose, he's going to go away. There are so many people who are emotionally convinced that Donald Trump is never leaving office, that he's some sort of authoritarian despot. They said the same thing about Viktor Orban, and it was not true. He's certainly authoritarian, had a heavy hand, not a lot of free press in Hungary these days. He harassed them a lot. He was tyrannical in some ways, but also very populist. He wasn't a conservative, he wasn't a liberal, he was a populist. And he's been there since, I think, 2010, and the people in Hungary got tired of him. I have been flummoxed by people on the right, including some friends of mine, who have kind of wrapped their arms around Viktor Orban and, as he's like this great thing. No, he wasn't. He wasn't a particularly astute leader as his time went on, and he was really, really, really corrupt. Side note, I have grave reservations about the ethics of the Trump administration and the grift. There are a lot of people within and around Donald Trump who are getting rich off his tenure in office. The poly market trades, the wild swings and bids that people make before policy is announced. I'm sorry if it's a one-off thing, someone got lucky, but it seems like every single time the president of the United States makes an announcement, there's a bid on poly market that skyrockets before it's public. That is called insider trading. It is illegal, and people are getting away with it. And I'm flummoxed by the Democrats' inability to run an entire campaign on ethics. Guess what Peter Magyar did? Former Orban loyalist ran an entire campaign on how corrupt Orban had gotten. This is from the New York Times because there's a catch, there's a punchline to all of this. Sunday's vote was widely seen as a showdown between friends and foes of liberal democracy, a cause that Mr. Orban had battled against for years to applause from his fans in the United States, Europe, and Latin America. The race was closely watched by the Trump administration and the Kremlin, both of whom wanted Mr. Orban to win and both of which offered support to his campaign. The implication of the outcome extended far beyond Hungary's borders. The next prime minister may help alter the course of the war in Ukraine, a neighbor that Mr. Orban has cast as an enemy of Hungary, and affect European security. And the results will be looked at by populists around the world who view the Hungarian leader as a model of success and a pugnacious defiance of the mainstream. After the results, large crowds of mostly young people thronged the banks of the river Danube in front of the Parliament building, cheering and waving Hungarian flags. Many were stunned by the speed and scale of the defeat of Mr. Orban, whose party won the 4 previous elections. But wait, it gets better. Where is it? Now I lost the paragraph. Hang on a second. Here it is. Eager to reach beyond Budapest liberals who have loathed Mr. Orban for years, Peter Magyar stayed far away from issues dear to progressives like LGBT rights. He campaigned mainly on his biggest asset. He is not Viktor Orban. The prospect of change, no matter in which direction, underpinned much of his support. For reasons that I don't get, well, I do get them. He's an isolationist. J.D. Vance went to Hungary and slandered Ukraine, claiming they were trying to interfere in elections around the world and things like that. J.D. Vance doesn't like Zelensky, doesn't like Ukraine, doesn't want to help Ukraine. He's trying to extricate us from it. And too many people around J.D. Vance, not J.D. Vance himself, but too many people around him have been very too comfortable with Russia. Viktor Orban has been the same way. He's a friend of Donald Trump's and J.D. Vance. He's also a friend of Vladimir Putin, and he has done what he could to sow division between Ukraine and Donald Trump. But I want to go back to Mr. Magyar stayed far away from issues dear to progressives like LGBT rights. I'm surprised they didn't put the Q in, by the way. Peter Magyar is not a liberal. In fact, do you know one of the biggest issues? One is corruption. Biggest issue of Ukrainians has been the corruption of the Orban regime. When a party stays in power, as long as Orban's party stayed in power, they tend to get corrupt. Do you know what the other issue was? If you're on the left, you may need to lay on your fainting couch. You know what the other big issue was? Peter Magyar campaigned against open borders and immigration. He argued that Orban had flooded the country with immigrants, particularly Muslim immigrants, to prop up a manufacturing base where there were not enough locals to work. Yes, Magyar was the anti-immigration candidate. He's also socially conservative. He didn't avoid LGBT issues to avoid alienating people. Magyar's a Christian conservative who doesn't support the LGBT community. But he didn't campaign on those issues. He campaigned on borders and corruption. And you will notice the New York Times completely ignores the immigration issue. This is why it's always been wild to me to have all these people in the United States. I know people who have moved to Hungary. They love Hungary. They love Orban. And they're like, oh, this is the end of Hungary as we know it. No, Magyar is a liberalizing force. He believes in a free market. He's not a government control guy like Orban. Orban believes in national controls on the economy, much like Donald Trump does. Magyar believes in a free market, but he's opposed to illegal immigration. And in fact, Magyar believes that massive immigration of minority communities actually undermines the free market. It doesn't allow the free market to come to terms with Hungary as Hungary. It allows a subsidy of a lower class of cheap labor so that markets do not have to rise to meet the demands of Hungary. It's just been wild to me to watch J.D. Vance spend his political capital propping up Viktor Orban. But it's not just that. So Amari is interesting guy. He was like a far, far left guy, became very conservative, was the guy, those of you who remember the online kerfuffle, was the guy who began the conservative backlash towards David French, basically said that everything that David French touches gets corrupt and dies, and ran David French out of the conservative movement, so to speak. And now he's become a leftist again. He is for unions. He is for command and control economy. And now he's blasting Donald Trump, that Donald Trump has failed to deliver for the post-liberals. He wanted some sort of Catholic hierarchy. I don't really know. He changes his position. Nice guy, changes his positions every week. But he and David French now find themselves on the same side against Donald Trump. It's been very wild to see. And he has lamented the post-liberal consensus. So many people hitched their wagon with Donald Trump. You know, it reminds me of Barack Obama. Now, I got to be careful here because some of you are too sensitive for the analogy, I realize. But for one limited purpose, I'm going to compare Donald Trump to Barack Obama. In 2008, Barack Obama ran as an empty vessel, and people could pour their hopes and dreams into Barack Obama, and they presumed that Barack Obama was their guy for whatever reason. And in many cases, people left the Obama administration deeply dissatisfied, determining that he did not deliver them what they thought he would deliver because he was their empty vessel into which they poured their hopes and dreams. Donald Trump has run multiple times, and he's never been an empty vessel. He has defined himself over the years in many cases, but a lot of Donald Trump's supporters actually decided he was just saying things and didn't really mean them. And in fact, he was an empty vessel like Obama, and they poured their hopes and dreams into Donald Trump. The difference is that Obama really ran as an empty vessel and it coded to the left, and Donald Trump never did. But people assumed that Donald Trump could be controlled. And many people in this post-liberalism project hitched their wagon to Donald Trump, presuming he was an empty suit and they could control him. And it turns out, for example, on Iran, Donald Trump for 40 years has been saying we need to blow him up. And they're shocked and horrified Donald Trump really meant it. They presumed he was an empty suit and he had no real ambitions and they could control him. And Donald Trump is someone, anybody who knows Donald Trump knows he's a bull in a china shop. You're not going to control Donald Trump. And the post-liberal project, they hitched their wagon to Donald Trump and Viktor Orban. And now Orban has lost and Donald Trump is disappointing them because he's gone into Iran and blown up Iran. He's not giving them what they want. He's nominated a Wiccan for Secretary General that the post-liberal right doesn't like because she's a Wiccan, a witchcraft practitioner, among other things. And they're completely upset with Donald Trump and they're distancing themselves. Now, the media reports this as disruptions within MAGA. This isn't disruptions within MAGA. This is disruptions within people who thought they could control Donald Trump for their own ends and they never could. And now suddenly it turns out that they're disappointed. They're disappointed because they never took Donald Trump at his word. They took him at their word. And, well, it's not going well for them now. They hitched their wagon to Viktor Orban. It's not going well for them now. The post-liberal consensus never was a consensus, and it's collapsing before our eyes. And frankly, that's not a bad thing for freedom. I have a bone to pick with Brooklyn Bedding. So we got one of their mattresses. You know, I regularly try to, I shouldn't say regularly, 5 years or so to 8 years, change my mattress. So we got the mattress from Brooklyn Bedding. Got a king-size mattress. It's got, it's not one of the foam ones. It's got coils, and it is very comfortable. Well, then my daughter's like, hey, it's been a long time since I've got. We now have multiple Brooklyn mattresses in our house, and they're fantastic. They hold up. You know, they're designed, they're assembled in an Arizona factory. There are no middlemen. There are no gimmicks. Top-tier quality, honest pricing, and American craftsmanship for a better night's sleep, and they really are comfortable. We've got the great hybrid mattress, which, you know, Wirecutter says is fantastic. Go to brooklynbedding.com. Use my promo code ERIC, E-R-I-C-K, at checkout. Get 30% off site-wide. Not available anywhere else. brooklynbedding.com. Use the promo code ERIC, E-R-I-C-K, for 30% off site-wide. brooklynbedding.com, promo code ERIC. You know where all those oil tankers are going that can't go to the Strait of Hormuz to get oil? The American Gulf Coast. There have been a massive array of oil tankers headed to the United States. It is actually causing the United States of America to exceed any other country in oil exports. We will be the biggest oil exporter now because of all the ships that can't get to the Strait of Hormuz. The Americans have said, come here. And those oil tankers have turned around and come to the United States. They are. It's a great thing to see. And notice Donald Trump's not getting credit to that boost to the American economy, and particularly to the southern states with massive oil output now. And by the way, none of that oil is going to Cuba. The Cuban regime, the president of Cuba came to the United States. I was kind of I'm not surprised, but disappointed by Meet the Press host Kristen Welker talking about how honored she was that the socialist communist president of Cuba gave her some sort of sit-down interview. That's disgusting. He's a communist murderer. He is, brutalizes his own people to stay in power, hates the United States. That regime is collapsing, though. We should not keep our eye distracted while we look at the Iran situation. And by the way, you should know as well, markets, as I'm talking to you right now, are surging. The Dow had been down this morning. It's up 76 now. NASDAQ up 152. S&P up 31. Markets are absolutely recovering from all this, and Cuba is not. Investors are betting that Trump's going to get his way in the Middle East one way or the other. Hopefully sooner rather than later. We'll see. But boy, there's a massive number of oil ships, oil tankers headed to the United States to fill up. Now, let me tell you about this great rebate deal from Renai. You can get $500 off if you are a homeowner. You all know how much I love my Renai tanker, tankless water heater. Speaking of tanks and tankless water heaters, you can get tankless water heater from Renai and get a $500 rebate. It's just for you guys. They're doing this for my listeners because they're my great new advertiser. I love my tankless water heater. Homeowners only, you got to purchase and install by June 30th. Here's what you do. You go to TalkingTankless.com. There's a consumer rebate button, and you click this, and it'll take you to the Renai rebate page. You got to put in some information to set up access, and then search for the Eric Erickson consumer rebate. There's a passcode that goes with it, Eric, E-R-I-C-K. You have it installed by June 30th, you'll get a $500 rebate. So TalkingTankless.com. Click on the rebate page, fill out your information, find the Eric Erickson consumer rebate, and put in the passcode ERIC. You'll even be able to locate a trained professional in your area to install your Renai tankless water heater. Do your family a favor. Go to TalkingTankless.com today. Get the $500 rebate from Renai. Remember, install by June 30th. Homeowners only. You can enjoy an endless supply of hot water today. And be glad you did. My family loves our Renai tankless water heater. You can too. TalkingTankless.com. Click the rebate button. You know, I got to tell you, I'm watching these headlines, and I'm on CNBC site right now, watching the markets go up. Oil, just so you know, It's let's see, we got Brent crude is up at $99, and West Texas crude is at $98, $92 on June barrels. Natural gas has just collapsed, and the markets are betting that the president is going to get an Iran peace deal. I'm just not so sure the president of the United States is going to be able to get a peace deal. I think we're going to have to bomb some more. I think we need to bomb some more. I think Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates are pressuring the president to bomb some more. I think there's going to be some more bombs. The United States, according to Barack Ravid at Axios, says the U.S. has asked Iran to accept a 20-year moratorium on uranium enrichment during negotiations. A 20-year moratorium on uranium enrichment. I'm not sure about that. Now, I want to move on to something else for at least just a moment. There is I think it's New Yorker profile of Sam Altman, the head of OpenAI, that runs ChatGPT. Now, if you're not up on this, ChatGPT is kind of collapsing. They're not doing so well. Yeah, it's a New Yorker piece by Ronan Farrow and Andrew Morantz on Sam Altman, who, by the way, cooperated with the piece, sat for some interviews. The headline says it all. Sam Altman may control our future. Can he be trusted? 16,000 words investigating Sam Altman's trustworthiness, particularly details surrounding his ouster by OpenAI in 2023 and return within a week and purging of the board. Very, very long piece. I haven't read it. I've read some summaries of it. Here's the thing that struck me in every single review of the piece. And again, I wasn't going to spend 16,000 words on a New Yorker piece. But what struck me is with everyone who did read the piece noted that the people who've worked the closest with Sam Altman trust him the least. Pretty notable. The people who work the closest with him trust him the least. Sam Altman says a lot of weird and outlandish things, and so does Darian Amoti at Anthropic. Now, I've talked about this a little bit, but for those of you who don't know, the other day someone threw a Molotov cocktail at Sam Altman's home. And then over the weekend, someone drove past his house and fired shots. And this came a week after a city councilman in Indiana was home with his son, and someone fired shots at his house for voting to build a data center. Now, the groups that are taking responsibility for this is a violent group of anti-AI activists. And it actually is a left-wing group. It is notably left-wing, and one of its members is the guy who targeted Sam Altman. And there's speculation the same group targeted this city councilman in Indiana. It's a left-wing anti-AI group. It's essentially an anti-development group. There's a story in the Wall Street Journal about the massive consumption of energy that AI data centers are using, that we're running out of energy for these data centers. Part of the problem with the reporting, as many people have pointed out, though, is that a lot of these AI data centers have their own energy infrastructure. This is from Angel Ong Yu and Robbie Whelan at the Wall Street Journal. The artificial intelligence gold rush is rapidly drying up the supply of one of the resources that AI developers can't do without: computing power. The sharp capacity crunch has caused consternation among power users, forcing companies to scuttle products that led to reliability problems. The issues are a warning sign for the AI boom, as they may limit the utility of powerful new AI tools, just as massive amounts of users have begun to rely on them. Over the past few months, demand has exploded for agentic AI, autonomous tools that use the technology to independently perform tasks, from writing software code to scheduling house tours for real estate brokers. Companies have been scrambling to secure the availability of computing capacity needed to serve a growing base of consumers who are also significantly increasing their AI use. All of it points to a classic problem that propped up in technology booms throughout history, from the 19th century railway expansion to the telecom and internet explosions. Demand is growing far faster than companies are able to access resources and build out infrastructure. Historically, price increases have been among the only ways to address a supply crunch, but such a move could be perilous for frontier AI companies, which are in ferocious competition to gain users. Hourly rental prices for GPUs, the microchips used to train and run AI models, have surged since the fall. Anthropic, maker of the chatbot Claude and viral coding app Claude Code, have been plagued recently by frequent outages. The company's begun metering computing supply to users during peak hours, but the rollout has been marred by customers who have complained they've reached the limit far too quickly. OpenAI scrapped its Sora video generation app in part to free up computing resources to power coding and enterprise products. Now, the side note to this is that there's a growing complaint about the energy uses of these companies, not just the computing power. And by the way, there's a free link to this story in the Wall Street Journal in show notes. If you subscribe to show notes, we put in the gift links, so you don't have to pay for the Wall Street Journal subscription to read it. Just text Eric to 33777. Click the top link. The point here, though, is that there is a very, very real concern about power consumption. The environmentalists are screaming about the power consumption. We've now got the chip consumption. That is, they're maxing out chip capacity. They can't make chips fast enough. And now the power capacity, that there's a massive use of power, except the power grid is not actually as big a problem as people think, because these AI companies are using their own in-house power supplies. Many of them use solar panels. They use wind. They have their own power generation facilities increasingly. And then there's the fear about water. And it turns out that the major research group that did the story on the massive amount of power that massive amount of water these companies use now admits they overestimated water consumption. And by the way, this is the study on which many people do research on these companies, that if you're building X square footage, you're going to use this much water because of this study's calculations. And now the authors of the study admit they overestimated by 100,000%. So there's a whole lot of fears about AI that are overstated. But then I can't help but acknowledge this point. The people who say the most outlandish stuff about AI are Sam Altman, Dario Amodei, and the other CEOs of the AI companies. You can't help but be a little bit concerned about AI when the leaders of the companies are telling us all that it's going to wipe out jobs. It's going to wipe out our ability for white-collar workers to get jobs. It's going to take the jobs of the accountants. It's going to take the jobs of the lawyers. It's going to take the jobs of the bankers. It's going to take the jobs of the realtors. It's going to take the jobs of all the college graduates. In fact, you've got some of them suggesting we need to rush towards getting universal basic income, where the government just pays you a salary, because people are going to have their jobs taken by AI. It's not actually happening in many cases. Now, there are some. In fact, I had a text from a buddy the other day whose daughter lost her job at a Fortune 500 company because that company decided that they could rely on AI to do most of their marketing. By the way, it turns out that her job was also in legal compliance. They got rid of her, and now they're trying to woo her back, because it turns out that AI can't do legal compliance. Why can't artificial intelligence do legal compliance? Any idea? Because the AI is not a member of the bar. Your computer can't pass the bar exam because your computer can't take the bar exam. In the same way, the computer can't replace accountants because accountants are CPAs, and you have to have a certified public accountant sign off on the documents. It's, in many cases, overstated. But you really can't blame people for being scared to death of what this stuff is going to do when it's the AI CEOs who are out there scaring the bejesus out of people. A buddy of mine runs a advocacy group for AI, encouraging Congress to step in, get rid of the 50 state regulatory structures and have one federal structure to regulate AI, stuff like that. And he says it is one of the most absurd things to get these AI CEOs into the room and explain to them that they are their own worst salesmen. Because the way that they play up the usefulness of their AI is to tell employers that your employees are expendable. And when you start saying that loud enough, people tend to listen and interpret it as, oh, you think I am expendable. And those people tend to get really mad. So then you get opposition to data centers for the energy usage that turns out to be wrong, and the water usage that turns out to be based on flawed studies, and the environmentalists who are many times funded by China who want us to shut down AI in this country. China does not want the United States to keep building data centers because China can't get ahead of us in our development of AI unless we decide to surrender. We're too productive and too innovative for the Chinese to catch us unless the Chinese can pay front groups in this country to scare us all. Are there problems with AI? There are. And again, not like I know someone whose daughter lost her job because of AI. The company's trying to hire her back now because they realized they went too far. But it wasn't just her. It was others who lost their jobs. At the same time, I know companies who are hiring people because they've become so productive because of AI. The problem is this. The AI still makes mistakes. If you're building a building and you start outsourcing your critical capacities to AI to do the math on the building and the AI gets it wrong, how are you going to catch it? There are a lot of cognitive studies out there now that show that the more kids use screens, they have cognitive decline. They let the screens do the thinking for them. And it takes 2 to 3 weeks for all of your cognitive abilities to start even grow, not come back, but to start growing back. It's like being at the Masters with everybody without their phones. I grabbed my phone like 3 or 4 times during the day, a lot more than that, probably 10 times during the day, realized, I don't have it. People are like that with their technology. And increasingly, professors are finding in colleges that kids who are relying on AI to write essays for them are the worst writers. And kids who rely on AI to do their thinking for them are the worst thinkers. We're increasingly having this problem. People are relying on AI, but then you have the AI CEOs scaring the mess out of people over what it's going to do to society. It is in many, many times overstated. It's going to be a necessary skill for people to learn. My son, I've mentioned, wants to go to Sanford, wants to get into architecture. We've gotten several different notices about stuff, getting into the program and all, and how even my daughter at her university now, they're actually actively spending time in classes now learning how to use AI. In fact, one of my daughter's business teachers for some of their business projects are telling the kids they are required to use AI. They got to learn how to use it. They got to learn how to harness its power to supplement their skills. But when the AI CEOs are telling people it's going to be the end of humanity, it's going to be the end of jobs, it's going to be the end of white-collar workers, you kind of understand when people are turning violent against it. One of the things I learned from Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country, one of the best Star Trek films, slightly less good as Search for Khan, or not the Search for Khan, that was a terrible movie. The Wrath of Khan was excellent. The even-numbered Star Trek movies tend to be the good ones. So Star Trek II was The Wrath of Khan. Star Trek IV was the one where they had to get home. I can't remember the name of it now. Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country, excellent. Star Trek VIII was the Borg one. It was excellent. First Contact. Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. It's peace between the Klingons and the Federation. And one of the Klingons on board the Enterprise points out that someone is clearly sabotaging the operation. But she alludes to it was the French workers who threw their wooden shoes into the gears with the rise of mechanics. The French workers were afraid that they were going to lose their jobs, and so they began throwing their French shoes into the gears of the machines that would replace them, the sabots, the French wooden shoes, hence the word sabotage. You can't be surprised that workers now, hearing that AI is going to take away all their jobs, are looking at sabotage. They're hearing from the CEOs about how destructive it's going to be, but the CEOs are treating that destruction as a good thing. I'm sorry, but when a lot of workers hear, hey, you're going to be out of jobs, replaced by machines, of course they're going to take to the streets to oppose the data centers. These CEOs are their own worst enemy, and now people are turning violent against them. They may need to rethink how they talk about their own technology. Welcome back. It's Eric Erickson here. I want to play this clip from Victor Glover. Victor Glover, the astronaut who came back successfully, the Artemis II mission.
When this started on April 3rd, I wanted to thank God in public, and I want to thank God again, because even bigger than my challenge trying to describe what we went through, the gratitude of seeing what we saw, doing what we did, and being with who I was with, it's too big to just be in one body.
It's nice to see that on a public setting. You know, there are some who have said that this was DEI. Some left-wing defenders said, you know, this we would have never had a black astronaut and a female astronaut in space but for DEI, which I just find deeply disturbing and offensive that these people are Gen X. They existed in the system well before DEI became a thing, and they rose through the ranks because of the caliber of their skills. To watch progressives look at the Artemis II crew, have a woman and a black man, and say that's a success of DEI, when those two people, because of their ages, existed at a time before DEI was really a thing, they elevated on their own skill set. What they're essentially saying is that these two people didn't get there because of their own skills. They got there because of benefits given to them by virtue of their race and sex. It demeans them and their qualifications. That's why DEI is so pernicious and offensive. It takes from them who they are and attributes to them success only based on their skin color and gender, which is a sad commentary on the left. Now, a great commentary for you is Vision Computers. They will help you with your computers. They will build you great machines. They can help you save some money and keep you online and productive. Call them at 404-COMPUTE. Anybody, any business nationwide. If you build a computer with them, their world-class tech support comes free with them, but you can get the tech support per computer, $199 a year, and you get a special phone number. You get to call them day or night, and they'll answer the phone within 15 seconds. That's faster than you can find out what's going on or how to do something with Google. Literally, you don't know how to do something on your computer, you call the number 15 seconds or less. A human being answers the phone, not an AI chatbot, and they help you. So you stay productive. Your team stays productive. If you're a small business, you probably can't afford the in-house IT guy, but you can afford Vision Computers' managed IT services. Keep your employees productive and keep yourself protected from scams and learn how to use AI at your company. Do it all with Vision Computers. 404-COMPUTE or visioncomputers.com. Tell them Eric sent you.